you, Brian. Amazing. So I started learning about impact investing a few years ago while I was in Malawi. I was studying anthropology at the time, and I was leading a study on the startup ecosystem of Malawi. And what happens there that contrary to here, where startup can launching a bit, um, companies about everything and anything. It can be a game, it can be a startup, it can be anything. Over there, people were really using their time to focus on the issues that were crucial to their well-being. I'm talking about food, agriculture, energy, um, or access to healthcare. But what they were really lacking was access to investment. That's what decided me to start working in impact investing and dedicate myself to that. That became my passion. I came here to the US, worked for StartX, which is Stanford accelerator program, and I helped them with the admissions process. And then I had the chance to start working for KingsCrowd. So what I do at KingsCrowd, well, I'm pretty lucky because I have the opportunity to focus solely on impact investing. 90% of the time, I look at companies, collect data about companies that are in the impact investing space, or algorithm rates them. Then I have the chance to talk to founders and kind of select the top companies so I can filter them to investors. Tonight, I'm going to share a little bit of my work with you as well, and we're going to look at some of these top companies. On the side, I'm also a master's MBA student at UC Davis Graduate School of Management, where I'm also the president of Net Impact. And the idea is just to learn more about business and impact investing as much as I can. So now that you have a little idea of who I am, let's continue. What we're going to do this evening, we're going to look at what is KingsCrowd in case you are not aware of it yet, or in case you're just discovering it. We're going to talk a lot about what KingsCrowd is doing tonight. So we'll start with a quick overview about the company. Then we will also look at the trends of the online investing market. KingsCrowd is collecting data about every single company that is raising online. So I pulled that data for you, made a few wonderful pie charts so I can show you what is happening on the impact investing market. We are also going to look at a handpick of high-performing impact deals. So the most recent one that had stacked from KingsCrowd. Some of them are still open for investment. Some of them are already closed. But we're going to have an overview of the industries that are available across online impact investing. Finally, we're going to, while looking at these companies, try to understand why what are we looking for when we really look in impact companies? What does impact mean? But also, what are the criteria that we look at when we want to invest into these companies? And we're going to go through KingsCrowd criteria to select the top companies. I'm going to talk about some specific stops over here. So like any disclosure, I get what happens a lot in the market. Not here to personally recommend any of these companies. This is what KingsCrowd thinks are some of the most companies, but always do your own due diligence before investing. And as I'm sure everybody knows here, investment in startup are illiquid, so do not invest more than what you can afford to lose. Let's start with what is KingsCrowd. You know what, Brian, do you want to talk about what is KingsCrowd? That would be an honor.
All right, I'll jump in real quick, but I would love to have you present as well. So yeah, we, as shown on the slide here, we do data aggregation across all the different regulation, crowdfunding, Reg A platforms that are out there. And after gathering all that data, we then have different models that it will go through in terms of coming up with ratings where it compares the cohort of deals that are actively raising against every other deal that's rated. So if you're taking a look at any individual investment and you're wondering, how do I know if this is a good, potentially good investment opportunity? How does the valuation stack up? How does the revenue stack up? There's so many different data points in every company. It can be a bit overwhelming sometimes for investors to say, is this a good opportunity or not? And when you talk to the founders, every founder is changing the world. Every founder thinks, and for good reason, that their own idea is the best idea out there, right? So we try and be sort of that third party that overlooks the whole industry to provide the data in a way that is a little bit more unbiased. And then we provide all that data, all the research, all the ratings, the analytics to help investors, to empower investors to make more informed investment decisions. We do a whole bunch of other things related to that as well. We have, a fund that invests, and we have a portfolio tool. But I think for the purposes of tonight, just think of us as kind of the ratings and the analytics platform for all of the online private markets that are out there. All right, I'm done.
Thank you so much. I couldn't have said better. That's why Brian is the best to do that. Awesome. So as he just said, we're looking at every single company that is raising out there. And when we find impact company, we label them as impact in our database. So then it's very easy for us to take a step back and have an overview of the market. So let's look at what the data is telling us. And let's start by looking at platforms. When you look for an impact company, you can, of course, go on Kingscrowd, try to filter the impact companies and try to see what are the most interesting ones, but you can also go directly on platforms. And let's see, you probably know all of this platform already. The one that aggregates usually the biggest amount of deal will be WeFounder or Sprout Engine. And indeed, they do get a lot of impact investment opportunities as well. So if we look at the amount of money that was invested in impact companies in platform since 2021, so from January 2021 to May 2023, we see that Dalmore and Start Engine are really leading the market. So this is for what happened in the last 2 years and a half, but this is a number that really changes year over year. If we look specifically at 2021, we can see that Dalmore dominates that year. Dalmore is also raising a lot of reggae companies, more than anything else, that have an investment limit of $75 million, while RecCF company only have an investment limit of $5 million. Therefore, that's why the number of, I mean, according to what I've been able to see, that's why that amount kind of changes, because it's going to be easier for them to really vary the amount of fund that they can collect for companies, since the variable is just larger. And then if we look simply at 2022, then the share of impact investing that was on investment that were put into through the Dalmore platform is way lower than the previous year. And Start Engine in 2022 really was leaving the impact investing market. If we go back, we can see that Race Green, that is at the very bottom, only had 0.2% of the market. It's a very interesting number to look at, because Race Green is focusing solely on impact investing. And so even if we could think that this platform will aggregate the most investment, in reality, it's not really the case. So now that we see as where are investors putting money in impact companies, let's look at what at Kingscrowd we think, where do the best impact companies come from in terms of platform. So when we write a report about a company, when we think a company is really good, we are going to do what we call a staff pick. So we're going to write either neutral data about a company, saying that it's a good opportunity, but there are still risks. We can write a deal to watch about a company, saying that it's a very good investment opportunity, but still not one of the top ones. Or we can write a top deal that says this is literally the top 2% companies that are raising online. And so we can see that when it comes to staff picks through impact investment companies, what we thought were the best impact investing companies in the last 2 years and a half were mostly on Republic, on Start Engine, and on WeFounder. If we look at specifically at the deal to watch, so that was that second tier of kind of top investment opportunities, then Republic even gives a higher number of high quality deals than other platforms. And if we focus solely on top deals, which are about the top 2%, then we see that Republic really leads the other platforms. It's kind of, the only thing I can do to explain that is make a guess. We know that Republic pays a high intention of the quality of the deal they have. They have a higher due diligence process than other platform. That might be one of the reasons that these deals are just getting more top deals than any other on any other platform. But if you have any suggestion, please feel free to drop it in the chat, because I'm really curious of knowing what everybody here thinks about that. All right, so let's look a little bit at what are the industries in which startups in the impact investing deal are really operating when they are raising online. So these are the industries with the most impact investing deals. So when investors are looking at impact investing deals online, 23% of these deals are going to be on the energy, power, and natural resource industry, which is the majority. It's a number that is really stable month to month. The energy, power, and natural resources is really high on equity crowdfunding. After that, we have a lot of consumer product goods and services. And third, we also have a lot of transportation, automotive, aviation, and aerospace companies. So these three industries are really leading the offering on impact investing companies. Now the question is, fine, this is the offers, what the deals are available to investors, but what are they actually investing in? And they are investing mainly into energy, power, and natural resources company. Second, they will be investing into transportation, automotive, aviation, and aerospace companies at 28.6%. And we were looking at the consumer product goods and services industry right before that had 12% of the offerings. Well, it's only 6% of the investments. They're same thing. We cannot go and interview every single investors on their investment decision, but we can try to guess that the energy, power, and natural resources or the transportation industries are simply some of the most impactful industries that we can find. If investors want to try to mitigate climate change, transportation, energy are really the industries that are contributing the most to greenhouse gases. I think the number is more than 70% of greenhouse gases come from these industries. So that might be one of the motivation. The other motivation is that historically, the return in these industries have been good as well. If you want more details, you can ask me in the chat and I can share with you later an article that we wrote specifically about this point. So like previously with the startup, with the platforms, I wanted to try and see whether the amount of good companies of staff pick that we were having was proportional or not to the diversity of impact investing deals across the different industries. And here we can clearly see that, yes, indeed, the energy, power, and natural resources industry does have the most of staff picks. So which companies that are, we believe, are some of the most interesting or the best investment opportunities. We can see that we also have a lot of consumer product goods companies, actually even more than transportation. And this is the difference between the amount of the amount of dollars that investors put into the company, where they clearly preferred transportation companies versus CPG company, where we at King's Crowd thought that CPG companies overall in the last 2 years had more interesting deals than transportation companies. So same thing. If you have an idea of why, please let me know. I'm really curious about trying to understand better these numbers. Now, if we look at the deal to watch, we have about more or less the same repartition with the food and beverage industry that is coming up, and that is also presenting a lot of quality deals. Let's take a look back at what investors invested into the food and beverage industry. So you can see it's only 4%. So the interest of investors is kind of different from the quality of deals in some ways. And finally, if we look at the top deals, while energy and CPG are still offering the most high quality company, while the transportation industry is not really having much top deals on this side. So this was a lot of information on the state of the market. So first, I'd like to know if you have any question, please you can raise your hand and we can dive a little bit into that. Otherwise, I will continue with the presentation. All right, amazing. Let's move forward then. So first, let's look at, we're going to try to dig into King's Crowd due diligence process and how that can help you when you are picking companies. So first, when we look at the due diligence, it's a human analysis. We may use data, but as human beings, we need to analyze the different data points that we see about companies, whether it's the team's experience, whether it's the revenue of the company. These are variables that we need to analyze. It also requires knowledge about the industry. It's important to understand what is the competition in the space, or what are the companies that have been successful, and it's important to also do research. And when you're doing your due diligence, when you are picking the company to invest in, your investment thesis actually matters. What are you sensitive to? Especially when it comes to impact investing, the problems that you want to solve, thanks to your investments, are going to guide the choice of your investment. So we are going to take an example. I choose the company Jewel Case. We had it twice as an investment, first as a neutral deal, then a new deal to watch. I'm pretty familiar with the company. So let's dive a little bit into King's Crowd analysis of this company and see how that can help you understand how to make your own due diligence process when you're looking at companies. So the first thing that we look at King's Crowd is the valuation of the company. I'm going to show you examples of what you can see when you go on the website, on our website. And if you look at a company page, you're going to see a detail of our ratings. So we rate companies on a scale of 1 to 5, and you're going to see some explanation on these ratings. So I'm going to use that as an example to explain our due diligence process. When we look at the price of a company, so the valuation of the company, how much are you going to have to spend to get X or Y amount of shares, we are trying to first look at how does the valuation of a company compares to other other crowdfunding investment opportunities. As we were telling you earlier, because we collect valuations of every single company that is raising online through equity crowdfunding, we can compare the valuation of, for example, Jewel Case in this case with other companies. And we know that Jewel Case has a revenue of $1.2 million. Therefore, the valuation of 34 million is actually below the median valuation of other companies that have more or less similar, which are in the same growth stage. We also can compare the valuation of the company with their revenue and get a revenue multiple. From an objective point of view, this revenue multiple for Jewel Case is pretty high, but it is still lower than other opportunities. That's why the company does have a pretty good price, a pretty good score of 3.8 over 5. After the valuation, we also take a look at the market. We first look at the addressable market size. So Jewel Case is a company doing portable and stackable batteries. Therefore, when we look at the US battery energy storage market, we can see that this market is only $300 million. This is very low compared to a lot of other opportunities that will go into markets that are higher than 1 billion, 5 billion, or $10 billion. That's why Jewel Case does not really have a large market size. The market size is important because we want the company, we want the market to have enough demand to accept, to be interested in the company. We want the company to be large enough so it can actually grow its revenue at a stage that will allow us as investors to have returns. We also want to look at the growth stage of the market, the market growth rate of this market. So in the case of Jewel Case, this annual growth rate of the market is of 23%, which is very high compared to other companies. That's why the algorithm scored it 4.8 over 5. And this is good news. It means that even if the market is only $300 million right now, it is going to grow fast enough and is going to require either current companies in the market to grow, either new startup to come in and bring new products because the demand is going to increase. So this was the second point that we look at when we look at impact investing companies or any other company that is raising online. Then we also look at the team. And I might be biased, but for me, one of the most important things when you invest into a crowdfunding company is who is leading the company. The reason is that many early stage startups are going to pivot. They might not find a good product market fit, or they might just have a better idea. They might have to improve the company, and the founders are going to go through hard times that make that it's very important to have a solid team with a good experience, and that can work well together. So in this case, we're going to look at the diversity of the company. That means, do the founders have complementary skills? Do they come from different backgrounds? Can they bring different point of views so they can have a better comprehension of their market and manage the company better? We also are going to look at the execution skills of the founders. Did they grow the company well in the period of time that they had? We're also going to look at their experience. It's We have a lot of great names that we can all give. I'm thinking, I don't know, Mark Zuckerberg, who built great companies out of college, but we also know that founders with more experience, and Kim Scott has also an article that talks about that founder with more experience can have excellent success rates. So we would like to look at the experience. Why? Because it also tells us about the network of the founders, the universities that the founder go into, the experience that they have, the jobs that they have, and the accelerator that they go into are going to give founders a network that can help them get contracts, that can help them raise money. And so these are the points that we look at when we try to analyze the team of a company. Then the fourth point that we look at is the differentiation of the company. So first, we're going to look at the competition. Are there a lot of competition? Are there a lot of competitors doing similar products? If that's the case, it's going to be way more complicated for the company to reach out to its customers and acquire market shares. Is the company's product defensible? If, let's say, if the company has a patent, it might be very difficult for others to imitate the company's product. It might be easier for the startup to grow and acquire customers. Whether if it's something that is easily imitable, the market might become very rapidly fragmented, and it might be difficult for the company to acquire market shares. We also look at the differentiation. Is the company offering a product that is similar to what already exists on the market, or is it bringing an idea that is new and that is going to attract customers? And last but not least, let's look at the last point that we really analyze when we look at companies, the performance. So the performance, we're going to look at the revenue of the company. Did they make a lot of money? But did they make a lot of money based on the stage that they are at? Do they already have a product? Since how long do they have a product on the market? And also, what is the time that they've spent on the market, and that really allow them to grow. So this is going to help us judge the execution. We also want to look at the burn rate of the company. If they are burning way too much money, they're going to run out of cash in a few months, and they're going to have to raise again. We're also looking at the development stage of the company. If it's only a prototype, well, the company is, yes, it's performing, yes, it's growing, but it is not as good as a company that already has its own product. And finally, we're also looking at the growth of the company. Is the revenue growing? Are the founders actually acquiring customers with time? So that was a really quick overview of the due diligence that we do. At the end of this talk, we're also going to give you a free coupon so you can look more in depth in your own time at the due diligence that we do. So if you want to learn more about our process, you can also use that coupon to go and read what we're doing for free. So now we're going to talk a little bit about impact investing. At Kingscrowd, we define impact investing by impact investing deals being with companies that offer products that directly have a positive impact on the environment, or mitigates environmental damage, or help social injustice or reduce inequalities. By that, we mean that the company's product must by itself make the world a better place. I know that this is kind of vague, and like investing into startups, we become good with experience. It's kind of the same with impact investing. So we're going to look at 10 different deals, and I'm going to explain to you why all of these deals are impact investing deals. So hopefully that can help you understand better what we mean by impact. At the end of that, we're also going to compare it with companies that only have good ESG initiatives and with companies that are having that are greenwashing and that we should avoid as impact investors. So the first one is a company called Biodale AG. And I know you have your computers by hand, so if you're interested in the company, don't hesitate to look at them if you want to learn more about their product. Biodale AG is an agricultural company. We have a lot of agricultural companies that are raising in the impact field. Usually, agricultural companies are going to try to help agriculture be more productive, healthier, while kind of trying to move away from the chemical industry, modified genetics, or fossil fuel made fertilizer, which happens a lot. Sequester, the product sold by Biodale AG, is a fertilizer that is using cyanobacteria, which is a tiny seaweed, tiny because it is a bacteria, but it's also a seaweed, and that helps capture the water into the soil, capture the carbon, and promotes plant growth. It also helps restore soils that have been damaged. So this has been one of the top deals that we had recently. We are also looking a lot at food companies that produce organic products, which means that not only it is good for the soil, it is good for the insect, it is good for the environment, but it's also good for the people who eat this organic product, usually tend to be good impact companies. This is the example of Perfecto. It's a company that was also a deal to watch on our platform. It is a fruit and vegetable delivery company that uses food waste that is still completely edible and distributes it to customers and delivers it at their house. So Perfecto is also an example of an impact company. We have the example of WorldTree to stay into the agricultural space. WorldTree is a very specific company that I believe is there to allow equity crowdfunders and investors on this platform because WorldTree business model depends 100% on equity crowdfunding investors. It means that every time the company is collecting investments, it will plant timber in Central America. So timber are the trees that you can see. And after 10 years, it is going to cut the timber, sell it, and sell the returns, share the return with the investors, the company itself, and the farmer. And so WorldTree is an excellent impact investing example because not only it helps local farmers in Central America by providing them with a steady revenue, but it also helps store carbon, and it helps use a renewable material to produce. I know they're going to do musical instruments, but the wood can also be used for construction, and it can be a replacement of cement or steel that are extremely polluting. That was our third example. Let's go into the energy space a little bit. Kinetic is a company that I believe is still raising currently. They just extended their raise. They are doing an energy storage solution that does not use lithium. Energy storage is really, I can say, a large market in equity crowdfunding. There are a lot of energy storage opportunities. Why? Because we need to store energy if we want to be able to use renewables. Solar, wind, these are all intermittent energy that we can only capture during the day. So we do need energy storage solutions to keep that energy during the night and be able to use it and share it on the grid. We found a lot of lithium-based companies online, but we also know that the way to extract lithium in the mines is extremely polluting. It's sometimes made into and the people who work in these mines are sometimes exploited. They can be treated. There's a lot of problems in the supply chain. So Kinetic is trying to do an energy storage solution that does not use rare metals like lithium, that does not rely on exploited labor, and that has an environmental impact in its supply chain that is reduced compared to lithium-ion batteries. Now, let's look at Apiscore. Apiscore is a 3D printing housing company. And you might be wondering when I'm talking about 3D printing company, because this is using cement, right? Well, Apiscore helps a house builder reduce the cost and therefore the price of the house by 30%. And so affordable housing is a large part of impact investing. I might not have to remind you of the market that we are in when it comes to housing. I know that the prices are getting down, but unfortunately, a lot of people do not have the means to harm themselves to own their own house. And so affordable housing is something that a lot of companies are trying to solve while they are waiting online. So if you are on these crowdfunding platforms, you should be finding a lot of these companies regularly. We also have companies, a lot of companies tackling waste. So we talked about food waste with Perfecto earlier. FuelClub is a company that is recovering e-waste, sorting it, and selling it. As you may know, one of the problems with the waste is that it just accumulates in landfill. And so giving it a second life not only allows recyclers to clean landfills, but also to limit the amount of new metals that we need to extract to build new products. We can also look at the company Empty Innovation. So Empty Innovation is a battery company. It's a very common, simple battery, but they are selling this battery in emerging countries and mostly in sub-Saharan Africa. And so a part of impact investing is also to try to make sustainable solution accessible to everyone. We just talked about affordable housing. It should be the same with access to food, with access to energy. And so companies that try to share good basic living condition with emerging countries and lower income families, also companies that we consider good opportunities in impact investing. We also seeing a little bit of software companies in impact investing. I've been talking a lot about products because products do have a strong environmental footprint. The software that collect data help us manage energy better, or in this case, in the case of auto case, build better buildings, or also companies that impacts investor like investing into. The advantage of software is also the scalability of the product, which is usually less capital intensive. We also look at companies that are trying to bridge social gaps. And so in this case, Psionic is a bionic hand. And so it helps people that do not have a chance to have a hand for whatever reason access it. I believe that this company is also trying to reduce the cost of this bionic hand. And so whatever is the income of the person that needs it, that person can access it. So trying to kind of reduce the cap in accessibility of healthcare is also a part of impact investing. And I think that this is the last one. TimePlus was a really, really large success on impact investing platforms. They raised $2.7 million already. And so this is a company that produces a plastic that degrades into alcohol in 12 hours. So we can talk about this company for an hour. There's a lot of pros and cons, like any of these technologies, but at least it can solve the microplastic issue. And so, as you can see, investors really love the idea. And if you have the chance to look at this video, you can see the founder degrading the plastic and then drinking it, and it's pretty impressive. All right, so now that we look at what are example of impact companies, let's look at what is not impact. And let's start with ESG. So ESG, environmental, social, and governance, are internal policies that a lot of big companies are trying to implement to make their product better and to give employees better working conditions. So an example here that I found on Solar Plaza is Heineken. Heineken, as you know, is a beer company. A beer is not really impactful by itself, but it built a few of these factories with solar panels. And so it's not really an impact investing opportunity if you want to invest into Heineken, but this is a company that is implementing ESG initiatives to try to lower the impact of its product. And so that's the difference between products that are impactful, like a solar energy company, or product that companies that lower the impact of their products. Another example is Adidas. Adidas partners with Parley to produce to produce shoes that are made directly out of ocean plastic. A shoe in itself is not an impactful product. It's still a shoe, it's still something that people buy, that people consume, that are going to wear out, and that uses energy during its production. However, using ocean plastic and so cleaning the ocean, using kind of recycled material instead of using fossil fuel to produce brand new plastic for these shoes, or an ESG initiative that is interesting, that is doing limiting the impact of these shoes. And now let's look at what does not impact, what is not ESG, but as is greenwashing. These are examples that make me laugh. I don't know if they're essentially funny, but feel free to make fun of these companies with me. So this is a very interesting example. So you have this company that is claiming that they have a paper bottle, but it's actually plastic inside. So this is a very obvious example. But if you look at a lot of paper cups, actually, you can see that inside of them there is a tiny, shiny plastic film. A lot of companies are doing that. And so even you, when you use a paper cup, be careful because it might not be what it really is. So it's kind of difficult to make paper resistant to water. And so for what is used might be harmful to the environment, harmful to your health. But yes, let's try to look at what is inside of these paper bottles. Another example is Shell claiming to have that sustainable packaging. They also claim that they are carbon neutral because they offset the emission of this packaging. And so if you're not aware of what offsetting is, so basically you're going to have a company that pollutes, emits greenhouse gases, but then is going to pay somebody else somewhere, either to plant tree, either to produce energy with solar. And so they consider that they are offsetting what they do. An example as well is Google. Google uses data center and it uses fossil fuel to power its data centers. But Google calls itself carbon neutral because it pays the production of renewable energy somewhere else. So it's better than not doing anything. But if you ask my opinion, calling it carbon neutral, it's kind of just not bringing the customer in the good direction and not really be clear about what is actually happening. All right, another example, Adidas. So I just said that Adidas had good ESG initiatives, but this also can show you that companies don't always do good thing across the entire product offering. In this case, Adidas shoes was made with 50% recycled plastic. And so you can tell me it's good. For me, it is part of greenwashing because still 50% of this material come from fossil fuel, and it could have come from 100% recycled plastic. But Adidas is trying to make it look like a green product while it's only half green. And these are just everything that you can see. Companies like using the color green to make you think that it's good. Or like you have Big that uses bioplastic. It's still not an amazing product, it's still not an impactful problem, but it's important to be careful. And I really wanted to emphasize on this because we do see, unfortunately, companies calling themselves sustainable and equity crowdfunding platform while they are not. So if you want to learn more, please feel free to scan this QR code or use this link, and you can go on kingscrowd.com. You can read for 45 days all of our reports. You can access all of our data, and you can try to see what are the current impact investing offerings. It's going to be my honor to share our work with you. I know we only have 2 minutes and 25 seconds, but if you have any question, please go ahead.
Quick question here, Leah.
Yes, Ahmed.
So we talked about all of these impact investing companies. Is there a difference in returns between these companies and non-impact investing companies? If you have the data or if you have anything from your experience.
We don't have data for equity crowdfunding specifically, but from what I've seen, the returns are very similar. between impact investing and non-impact investing. It's about 1 point of difference. So it's not doing better, but it's not doing worse either. However, what we have seen during the 2008 crisis is that big corporations usually survive better economic downturns than other corporations because they have customers that are kind of more attached to the products, and because they have employees that are in better conditions. But maybe, Ahmed, by the time we have data on exit of every company, I'd love us to get the data out.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the presentation. I thought it was interesting.
So I'm glad if you learned something. I really love doing this job. I get to look at all of these amazing opportunities. So happy to share them with you. Do you have any? We have 20 seconds. If you have any company that you want to share with us, you can please leave it in the chat, and I will be happy to take a look at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was great, Leah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.